I have to say that. And a lot of people doing it. You know, there was actually quite a few people on the course, and at the end of every day, when the course room finished, people would stand up and give their wins, and they had this huge picture of Hubbard in the corner of the room, and they'd all like give the wins, and then the supervisor would say, "Let's give Ron a big hand," and everyone would like applaud this like picture. And I remember like the first few times this happened, I'm going like, what the fuck? You know, what is going on here? They're applauding a picture of a guy. And I kind of found that really weird until about 2 weeks had gone by, and I found myself thinking, yeah, I could applaud him. Yeah, I could do this, you know. So I think on one occasion I stood up in the course room and said, when I first came in here, I couldn't understand why you're applauding that man, but after reading some of this stuff, yeah, I too can applaud the man. So I kind of like just became a student and did Scientology student stuff, and I completed the Organisation Executive course. Interestingly, it consists of 7 volumes. You start off like the HCO division, then the dissemination, then the treasury. Actually, no, you start off with the executive because they start counting at 7 for some strange reason. So it's like division 7, division 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I was like, I'd done 7, I'd done 1, I'd done 2, and I'd done 3. And they have a thing where the supervisor does a spot check, where he just chooses a word at random and says, what's the definition of whatever? And it could be a word like if. I don't even know what's the definition of the word if. And he would come over and say, what's the definition of bang, whatever word? And I was on volume 3, and I just went, and he goes, flunk. And I had to go right back to the very start of the entire course and do the whole thing all over again, starting with volume 7. So that was kind of crazy, like, you know. But I mean, at the same time, I actually wonder how much of that information I was taking on board. I don't think I was taking on very much. And the whole purpose was that you took this information on, and I don't think I was actually doing it. Maybe to some degree I was, maybe some degree I wasn't, but anyway. So I finished that in the end, and I was back at the Orb for a short time, and then another bright idea comes along. Why don't we send you to LA? You know, why don't we send you and do your FEBC, Flag Executive Briefing course? And I'm thinking, okay, you know, I mean, someone's given you the chance to fly to America and spend some time there, and you know, these Scientologists seem like nice people, so it seemed like a great idea. So I said, yeah, why not? And I did. I went to Flag and enrolled on course there. That was kind of weird. Meeting people, traveling was kind of okay. And again, I had the same idea that everyone on the plane or whatever was Scientologists, and of course they weren't. Again, I was the only one, you know. But, you know, I teamed up with a good bunch and, you know, had a great old time and we had a few laughs. The one thing that I'd like to say is like individual Scientologists are really sound people because they actually believe that they're doing good. I mean, to free mankind, imagine like being told you're freeing mankind and actually believing that. That's what makes the whole thing rotten, because it's a fake and you ultimately find out that it's a fake sometime later. But like, to be freeing mankind, you're doing the best possible thing that anyone could ever do, I suppose, apart from join the SO, but anyway, that's another story. I couldn't join the SO, by the way, because I was out qualified, but hey. So yeah, basically, I done Flag, and then it kind of gets interesting there, because my wife was actually pregnant, and I had promised her I would be back in England for the birth, and it was getting closer and closer and closer. So I went up and I said, look, I need to leave, I need to go back to England, and like, there was no way they were going to let me leave, you know. I had actually taken my folders with me, my PC folders, so they were at Flag, and I did get onto a staff leaving form. It would not to be confused with staff leaving forever form. It was like just staff going on leave with the idea of returning, you know. And there was delays on this. There was delays and delays and delays, and I'm conscious that the expected birth arrival date, or whatever they call it, is getting closer and closer. So I kind of had all this stuff going on in my head. Shit, I need to leave here. They don't want me to leave. How the hell am I going to leave here? And I think on about 5 occasions I'd phoned the airport because I'd booked a flight for a certain day and time, and I had to keep phoning the airport and saying, this is such a one, my name, and like, I need to rearrange your flight. And whoever it was always said, okay, that's fine, it's going to cost you $100. And I just went, yeah, okay, no problem. I'd done this about 5 times. So theoretically, I owed them like $500 with all these like rearranged flights and everything. So one day came, and I really realized I had to go because it was getting really close. And I just like decided, you know, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of here properly? And I realized I couldn't do it the proper way or the policy way. So I just said, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to have to go. And I was broke as well, which was a horrible thing. So there was a girl I got friendly with on the purification, which I did while I was there, another story. And I said, look, Tammy, can I borrow $100? And she went, sure, Peter, yeah. So I got the $100, and that was my ticket out of there. When I got to the airport, I didn't have to pay the $500 because they actually had no, because I'd phoned and said I'd rearranged the flight. They actually had no record of me rearranging the flights 5 times and owing $500. So I got on the plane for like not paying any, I didn't pay any of that, you know, so that was okay. And I was on the plane and I was like out of there, you know, and I never went back. I did fully intend to go back, but when I got back to England, and basically I'd blown from flag, so I think it was decided that they weren't going to send me back, which was kind of okay, really, on reflection. Within 2 days, I was on post, and then, like, that's when the real work starts. And while I was at Flag, I'd been told by the ED of the org that my post would be the Deputy Public Executive Secretary, because we already had one. But when I got back, she'd gone. So like, I was the Public Executive Secretary, which was like crazy, because I was the entirety of Div 6, which was actually 3 divisions in one, 6A, 6B and 6C. And when you're given a job like that, you're expected to do absolutely everything. So like a normal working day would begin at like 9 or whatever, I think maybe 10 we started. You'd have 2 or 3 hours on study, half an hour for lunch, and then at 1 o'clock you'd start production. So I'd actually start, a fairly typical day would go something like this. I'd be body routing people in. I would then be like supervising them while they did their OCA, which is like 200 questions, which would take a long time. When they finished that, I then had to like mark up the tests. Now they do it all by computer now, but at the time you had this awful, what do they call that stuff, acetate? An acetate that you put on over the question sheet, and you just tick the answers and add up the scores and basically end up with a graph. Then you'd be evaluating it for the person. Then you'd move into the bookseller mode, or if they were reaching for courses or whatever they needed, you know, because there's always something wrong with you. Whatever, you know, the test always shows that you need something. And the skill of the evaluator would be to get the person in the ruin, get them stuck in the ruin, and tell them that Dianetics or Scientology can help them. Now, I actually believed that at the time. Now I know that Dianetics and Scientology can't help them, never could and never would. But when you're in it, you don't you have no critical thinking like that. You don't, you just don't do it. You just accept everything you're told, and that's how it works. And that's how they manage to keep people in, which is kind of like evil and insidious. What a word, insidious. That's what it's like. So like, having done that, let's say if the person didn't buy a book or didn't buy anything, it's fine, let them go, fuck them, you know. Then on some occasions, if the person did buy auditing, I'd then have to become the auditor, okay? So it's like, all the person actually saw, like, from going in there would be me, you know, doing everything. And that would be fairly typical in most orgs and most missions as well, that you get a person in charge of an area doing absolutely everything. And it never ever was any different in all the time I was on staff or running a mission, which I'm not going to go into at this point. But